At 8:45 this morning, East Precinct officers were doing a check of motels, as they typically would do on a morning. They looked at the Cumberland Inn at 150 West Trinity Lane, spotted a vehicle there that looked suspicious, had a New York license plate. They did further checks on the car and learned that it was linked to two fugitives, a man and a woman. They determined what room they were in. They did a knock on the door. The door was ultimately opened. Fugitive Adrian Robinson inside, when he saw that the police were at the door, grabbed his wife, Alethea Robinson, at gunpoint and dragged her back to the restroom. At that point, the officers believed they had a hostage situation. They backed away and began calling for backup. While the officers were outside the motel room, a shot was fired in their direction from the motel room out a window. Sergeant Marty Reed from the East Precinct responded to the motel and deployed spike strips there at the entrance to prevent the suspect from fleeing. The suspect, Robinson, made it to the car with his wife, fled the motel parking lot, ran over the spike strips, partially deflating the tires, and a pursuit was then underway. The pursuit went to speeds of probably 35 to 40 miles per hour. Obviously, he couldn't drive really fast and still maintain control of the car due to the partially deflated tires, which continued to deflate as he traveled. The pursuit went on to I-65. It ultimately came here onto Jefferson Street. Robinson T-boned a car at 5th and Jefferson, disabling his vehicle. His vehicle rolled to 6th and Jefferson. At that point, Robinson got out of his car with gun in hand. Officers were there ordering him to drop his gun. He did not comply, and the officers fired at him. 3 officers fired. He is wounded in the forearm and hand and is in stable condition at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Now, during the pursuit, he actually stopped at a transmission shop on Dickerson Pike where his wife got out. There was a lady there at the transmission shop, and it appeared that his wife went to her car and was trying to get into her vehicle. What role his wife played in this, whether she was a real hostage or pretending to be a hostage, remains to be seen. Officers took her into custody without incident there at the transmission shop, while Robinson continued driving by himself here to Jefferson Street. Again, 3 officers fired on him. He has a wound to his forearm and his hand. After he was shot, he got back into the car, and a 10-minute ordeal then took place with officers trying to get him out of the car and into custody. Distraction devices, loud bangs, if you will, were deployed around the vehicle trying to get him out. The second distraction device ultimately worked. He came out of the car and was taken into custody, but not before he wrestled with an officer, grabbed an officer by the crotch, wouldn't let go. Another officer used a taser into his shoulders to release the grip on the officer that he had by the crotch. And then Robinson was taken into custody. He's now at Vanderbilt being treated.
Does the suspect have any medical conditions that you're aware of or anything like that? I mean, mental?
Not that I'm aware of.
Any injuries besides Robinson?
No.
Can you tell us about him, where he's from, why he was a fugitive?
Yeah, I will get all of that. He is wanted on multiple outstanding warrants. His wife is wanted on multiple outstanding warrants. I'll get all that to you here in just a moment.
Do you know how many gunshots were fired at this time?
I do not. We had 3 officers who fired at him here at 6th and Jefferson when he got out of the car with gun in hand. Those officers knowing already of the report of shots being fired at other officers at the motel.
Do you know how many departments?
So they fired at him first in this, from what we know at this point, at 5th and Jefferson when they saw him with the weapon.
At 6th and Jefferson? No, he T-boned the vehicle
right
at 5th and Jefferson, then rolled to 6th after his car was disabled from the crash and from the deflated tires.
Do you know how many agencies responded here today?
Metro Police.
And where is he from? I mean, is he from Nashville?
I believe so. Again, I will get all his biographical info to you here shortly.
It was a New York license plate?
He had a New York license plate on the car. That does not match the vehicle. The license plate, we would presume at this point, was stolen. We're not sure about that. But while the officers were doing their check, When they saw that the New York license plate didn't belong on the car, they then ran the VIN. And the VIN on the vehicle came back to one of them, and it was clear that they had outstanding warrants, which resulted in the officers going further, going up to the motel room, trying to serve outstanding warrants on fugitives.
Now, was the apartment evacuated? I mean, were the nearby, residents as well as apartments evacuated immediately right after gunshots were heard?
I don't know that, but this was happening very quickly. Again, he crashes at 5th and Jefferson, rolls to 6th and Jefferson with police on him, on his tail, and he gets out of the car with gun in hand. I mean, all of this is happening very quickly.
Would you have an estimated time, a 10-minute ordeal, 5-minute?
Well, it started at about 8:45, 8:40 to 8:45 at the motel, and then we wound up here at what time? I'll defer to you all on that.
Can you explain again how they determined there was a fugitive in that motel room? Did they find the license plate first and then they located?
No, they knew, they ran the license plate and knew very quickly that the New York license plate did not belong on this silver car. They then went up and got the VIN number from the car, ran the VIN number, and knew that the car was then linked to this couple, who both have outstanding felony warrants. So the officers at that point went to the motel room to take 2 fugitives into custody.
How did they know they were in that motel room?
Well, they went further. Once they ascertained the car was linked to them, they developed information that they were in that motel room.
Do you know how
at
many
the Cumberland Inn.
officers responded here today?
You got a high-speed chase. You got a car crash.
It's not a high-speed chase. It was probably 35 to 40 miles per hour. Remember that the car ran over the spike strips as it exited the motel. So it was not high-speed, 35 to 40 miles per hour, because the guy's tires were deflating from the moment he pulled out of the motel parking lot.
But you have a chase. You have a crash. You have shots fired. Busy area. No fatalities. No bystanders hurt. How would you describe the response of Metro Police in this situation?
Well, from the motel room to the pursuit to here, the officers are using their training. And they ordered this man to surrender multiple times. Even when he got back into the car while wounded, they gave him repeated commands to exit the vehicle. He actually tried to light a cigarette and sit in the car with the police outside ordering him to surrender. It was at that point, to try to end this, to not prolong it, that those distraction devices were deployed, which would have made a very loud banging explosion type sound. And at the second deployment of a distraction device, he chose then to get out of the car for the second time.
At that point, correct?
You're correct.
While he
You're
was
correct.
smoking the cigarette.
You're correct.
The cop that he grabbed in the crotch, is that cop okay? Is that officer?
Yes, yes. No police officers are hurt.
Do you know how many responded here from Metro altogether?
Well, we had officers from the Special Response Team. The Special Response Team are officers who work at serving high-risk arrest warrants. So they were already on duty, heard the East Precinct transmissions about what was taking place. They were here at this scene as well as East Precinct officers.
Do you know how many altogether, though?
I do not.
Okay.
When is this road going to reopen?
Well, we have a shooting investigation taking place, and this crime scene will be very meticulously documented. So Jefferson Street between 6th and 5th certainly will be closed for the next few hours.
What's next for the officers who deployed their weapons?
I'm sorry?
What's next for the officers who fired their weapons?
Any officer who fires their weapon in the line of duty in this type of scenario is placed on routine administrative assignment. They will be available to talk to our shooting investigations team, and they will remain on the routine administrative assignment for the immediate term. And as soon as Vanderbilt is able to clear Mr. Robinson, he will be taken to jail on the outstanding warrants, and there will be a myriad of charges based on his actions this morning against the police officers and, frankly, against this community. Remember, this is a gunman at a motel who chose to flee police officers, wouldn't surrender, who chose to lead a pursuit of these officers in East Nashville on the interstate, here close to downtown, chose to get out of a car with a gun, get back into the car, not surrender, This is a man who's committing crimes against this community, not just the Nashville police.